is up, gamers? I'm kidding. Stackswell, shout out to you, dude. Stack was making some great content, so I'm copying him blatantly. Not really, but I want to talk about the new set and some of the cards. Quick business update. Jump onto flukenblocks.shop. Get your Outsiders playsets. We're going to be talking about Outsiders. I'm going to tell you what I think is where the value sits in the set. Starting with Majestics, then I'll do the Legendaries. A couple of Outsider stats. There's 34 Majestics total, even though the product sheet says 31. That's because each of the Majestic daggers are left and right in the set. I'm assuming most people will want both. So to get a full play set of Outsiders Majestics, you need 82 Majestics. Now, I think that is low compared to other sets, which might play into why we're only seeing 5 to 6 Majestics a box so far. There's a fear that maybe Belgian print and Japanese print will have a different amount of Majestics in the box. Maybe there's some collation error somewhere. Let's hope not. But without further ado, let's jump into this. So I'm going to just rate things by like low, medium, high. And I'll try and speed through it, but ask questions below. I'd love to get into this discussion. But I believe all three daggers are going to be similarly priced, although I think Nerf Scalpel is the strongest one because reaction cards is kind of a big deal. So I believe these will all be low price, and I'll tell you why. It's only relevant if you play Assassin. So as most things go, these might see a spike early. The three daggers, Nerf, Scalpel, Orbiter Clast, and Scale Peeler. We're yet to see if maybe the left or right ones are rarer than the other. But the main point here is only Assassins will play them, and that's only one class in the game. So usually this means they will go up potentially, and then one of them will be stronger than the others, whatever. But I don't think this will ever hit medium or high pricing in general. Infiltrate. So there's, where are we? Assassin Majestics, there's 15 total. That includes the double class ones. When this hits a hero, banish top card. If you can play it, this is kind of huge. I think this will go in most decks. 0 for 3 with stealth. Now, 0 for 3 with go again is usually very playable in a red line deck. 0 for 3 with stealth is the Azuri thing, I believe. So, blocks 3. I mean, you might end up with a crippling crush that you can play on your next turn. It's kind of crazy. I think this will be high priced for Assassin, but it'll be medium price, like mid pricing in general. The word specialization in the game tends to mean not high, so this will be low to medium. It's a very, very strong card, but I don't think it'll see like crazy numbers. 2 for 6, a huge on hit. This is definitely something to be worried about when you see a stealth card on Azuri. This is huge. Banishing a card of the chosen color with most decks is quite debilitating. Can completely ruin the next turn. But specialization means only Azuri, which means mid to low price. Spreading Plague, create X. X is the number of defending cards. I think this is, again, mid to low. I believe Cycle Roundhouse. Has this actually sorted? It has. Now, what do we say? So Assassin, there's... Basically, it's the weapons and 2 Majestics. That's it. Infiltrate and Shakedown. There's not actually a lot of Assassin Majestics other than the weapons in the set. But we'll get to it in a second because there's Assassin Ninja stuff later. Cycle Roundhouse seems very good, but the 2 for 5... I think this is maybe, and I'm not an expert on Ninja, but I believe it'll end up in the low end of pricing just because it's only really Katsu that'll play this in CC. And I'm not sure of the power level of it. But out of all the Ninja cards, zero blues that block for 3 tend to see a lot more play. But I don't know which of these cards or if all of them are very strong combos yet, and that'll take time, but none of these will hit high pricing anyway. Wonder with Purpose, Benji Specialization, this will probably be one of the lowest ones, even if it's very, very strong. It's only Benji, only Blitz, so it's limited play. Shuriken, I think we'll see a big... it's the first Shuriken item we see It might end up seeing a lot of play early, but again, I still think mid to low. And this could be very strong. Again, it will depend on how strong it actually is in Katsu, but price-wise, this could be one of the more expensive ninja cards in the game if it's like a necessary thing to play a meta Katsu deck. I believe it is very strong, but yet to see. It is an instant. It blocks 0, so that could be an issue when it comes to pricing. Skipping over Legendaries for now. This, I believe, will be high-priced. It's only equipment, so it's 66% less printed than Majestics usually, and it doesn't take up anything. It doesn't even take up a spot in the deck, only in the sideboard. So there's no reason every single Ranger won't play this. So I believe this will be one of the highest priced or higher priced Majestics in the set, especially something like this in cold foil, if it exists, will be quite sought after. It's basically a remembrance that you start the deck with, or you start the game with. And it's an anti-fatigue thing, I believe, because you can get lower in the deck and then put the arrows you need to kill the hero on top. I believe this will be medium to high because of the art, but it's actually a very strong card as well, by the looks of it, but the art is sick, and it's also extremely unique in this set. Barbed Undertow, I'm hearing, is going to be very good on Riptide, and because of the on-hit, like not allowing people to pitch certain colors is quite debilitating. Again, you do this to a Guardian and you say blue, they basically can't hit you back in most cases. The 3 traps for Riptide, anything that says specialization, again, is going to be, usually will affect the pricing, but these are legendaries, meaning only 1 in the deck, and they're very, very powerful, especially the synergy with Riptide's ability. So I don't believe these will be cheap cards. I believe they'll be medium to high. I should probably clarify, medium to high, I'm talking like $10 a Majestic, and high would be like 50 or over. But I think these 3 traps, they might even exist in some special treatment in the set. I haven't seen it. It's not inside information, but these might be full art Majestics or something in the set. But I believe all 3 of them are like going to go in every Riptide deck. They're also going to go in every Shiana deck, more than likely. So expect these to have some value. It's also flavor. It's also the one-offs usually mean they're higher price. I think Gorganian Tome used to have this thing. It's not played as much with the lack of Rune Blades, but because it's a legendary, it's very hard to get them, especially in foil. Melting Point's very strong. I think all the arrows are pretty strong, so all the Majestic ones are going to see play. Sorry, this isn't an arrow. It's a Ranger non-attack action, but I do believe it's quite strong. Again, you'll probably just cycle this in versus the right matchups to destroy some daggers or well, it's only daggers that have the 1 attack. Assassin Ninja. So where are we? This is Stab Wound. I've skipped over something. So there's 3 of these Assassin Ninja attack reactions. I believe these won't be cheap because they can be played in more than 1 deck. I think that's the part and what's cool about these. I also, with opening the Outsiders box, there's a slot for these right after the equipment slot where it's a dual class. So I think these might be less printed than some other Majestics because it's only in the 1 slot. But again, I don't know that for a fact. But Stab Wound seems good. Possibly. Actually, what does it attack for? 0 for 2, and they lose X. I mean, I'm trying to think. So Kadachi, and this costs you 2 resources and hits for, at the end of the chain, this would be 4. It's a 0 for 4. I don't know if it's that strong, actually. But it is a blue that blocks for 3, pitches for 0. That's cost 0. That should see play. This will see a lot of play. Putting a ninja, putting an equipment back or putting a weapon back is quite strong. So I think there's going to be an archetype, whether it's good or not, I don't know, that's breaking daggers and bringing them back, especially on Assassin because of the on-hits. So But I believe this also works quite well with Needle. What's it, Needle? What's it called? Having a complete mental blank. The Crucible of War dagger that breaks. This lets you bring it back, which I think is a big deal because that weapon's quite strong. So we'll see. But again, goes on both Assassin and Ninja. So might end up being an expensive one depending on the meta. I spoiled this card in my box break. I don't know if this is very good or not. I believe it's good into decks like versus Kasai, for instance, where or like Mirror or Ninja into Assassin, where there's a lot of one block armor where they're blocking your Kodachi, for instance, to stop you drawing. This just goes over. And it's daggers this turn, so if you're going Kodachi, it's going to double the damage of those, so you're going to do 4 instead of 2. But if they block it with like 1 block armor, which is usually what they're doing to stop Mask of Momentum triggers, this is crazy good. Again, 0 cost blue that blocks for 3 tends to see play. Again, don't know how strong this is. It might be situational, but it might just end up being something you put in the deck because it's a better blue than some others. The codexes are all Assassin Ranger. So the attack reactions, there's 3 Ninja Assassin, and then there's 3 codexes, which are Assassin Ranger. These are very strong, and also these will be the Marvel cards. I don't know if the Nunfalls will be worth a lot, but I believe all 3 of these are very good. I don't know which one's the strongest. All of the tokens are quite good into certain matchups. Like Frailty is insane into Ninja because their Kodachis do 0. It's good into Warrior because it stops weapons hitting. All of these are very good. All of these will see play. Whether or not one of them will stand out over the other. I expect the Marvels to be worth an absolute crap load of money because there's only 3 Marvels in the set, and I'm expecting not to see many of them at the rate. We've seen no Marvels in 7 boxes that have been opened so far. Onto generics. So generics is 6. I believe they're all very good. Some of them maybe not so obvious on first glance. When this hits a hero, cards and tokens they own lose can't gain names. This is going to just be a counter into certain decks, but there's a lot of these 2 for 6s like Erase Face, where they weren't super strong on face value, and then you start realizing what they do to fuse decks and what they do to like dash. This will be the same. This might be absolutely crazy into Bravo. I think that's one of them, where can't gain names but lose their own name. So if the card says when Crippling Crush hits, then the Crippled Crush does nothing. I don't know if that's a synergy. I'm just giving an example, but this I believe is insanely good. And everyone will want a 3 of just in case. It's also a 2 for 6 that blocks for 3. So this is Command and Conquer level into some decks. I believe it's better than Command and Conquer into certain decks, depending on what this stops. This will be high priced. Whether or not immediately or not, this will end up being a high price card. Any 2 for 6 that blocks for 3 tends to be, if it's good. Remember, like Erase Face blocks for 2. This, I believe, is the best card in the set. Generic Majestic wise, I think everyone should buy a playset of this. This will be high price. I'll explain why in case you're doubting me. It's the only popper you can put in Arsenal. As a Warrior player, I will play this if Prism's a problem again or Dromai is rampant, because there's no other card I can put in Arsenal and just wait for an Erudition or wait for, a Vincerakai or something where I don't want to block it. That alone makes this card extremely strong for nearly every deck that struggles into Illusionist, because you've never been able to park something in Arsenal and wait as a popper. Like as a Warrior player, holding a popper, waiting for the right time to use it is extremely punishing. Putting it in Arsenal is not punishing. This is also as strong as a Crown of Providence. And this is, no one's told me this. I worked this out all by myself. This is extremely good Command and Conquer bait. Put this in Arsenal, Command and Conquer comes in, you block for 2, you take 4. And there's nothing in your arsenal. It's extremely good versus Command and Conquer. I think that's why this will see a lot of play. And you might be able to swap off Crown of Providence by playing this in your deck, putting it in Arsenal and baiting out a Command and Conquer. Or any other attack that blows up your arsenal. Because you can actually get the 2 value and empty your arsenal at the same time. Which it's hard to empty arsenal. This also doesn't trigger the ability on is a Dreadbore and some cards that say you can't play D-Reacts from Arsenal. This doesn't care. It's not a D-React. It's the only card in the game that you can defend from your arsenal for free. It's extremely strong. It's extremely strong. That's why it doesn't block for 3. If this blocked for 3, it would be broken. I believe this should be a $50 to $100 card when people catch on just how good it is. That's my opinion. Of course, I haven't tested it. I just can see where it fits and why it exists, and it's very fucking good. Give and take. This is very cool. Whenever Give and Take defended by an action card, put an action card with cost less from your graveyard on top of your deck. It's again, I don't know how strong this will be. I think it is. I don't think it'll be a super high priced one, but it's a bit like a Remembrance or a Cadaverous Contraband type of thing, especially late game. So you attack with this late, where they're on 3 or less. They have to. So basically 3 cost. Is that right? I'm trying to read this. You may put an action card with cost less than Give and Takes damage. So this is coming in for 3 as raw. If they have to block with something that costs 3 or more for it not to happen. So it's very unlikely to happen. So most of the time this will trigger. Also it has Go Again. That actually makes it very good. I didn't even realize it had Go Again. It's pretty good late game. Very, very good late game card. Mid to high, I think. Gore Belching has huge synergy into Levia, but that doesn't mean anything because Levia is not high played, but it's very, very good. This has like a weird interaction with a deck like Dory where it lets me shuffle my deck. There's a chance putting this in my deck allows me to run less blues mathematically because I can just shuffle, I believe. Not that I would, I'm just saying it's possible. This is also a 0 for 7 on Azuri, swapping in for stealth. So it's strong. I just don't know if it's very strong. I think this is a mid card, not high. But it's kind of cool. And we don't know, like this could work very well on new Shadow decks because anything that gets banished is strong on a Shadow deck, right? If this had Go Again, it would be great, but this is also a 0 cost. So you can Snappies this, you can Razor Reflex it. And I think the whole point of this card is the minus damage is going to be irrelevant for like Levia. Levia doesn't care if this comes in for 0 if she turns off Blood Debt, and that's why people run this. But again, it's a 0 for 7 on Azuri because this is blank on Azuri when she swaps it in. Mid to high, but I think it's more mid. Burdens of the Past is cool. I don't know. Maybe this is just very strong into Riptide. 10 more defense reactions in their graveyard. Draw a card is very strong because it's just... Well, it's a blue blocks for 3, and you're going to want to play this late, so you're going to pitch it in the meantime or block with it if you have to. But target hero can't play defense reactions with the same name as a card in their graveyard is crazy good late game. This is like a damage pump without pumping damage because you're stopping all sinks, all fates, all unmovables, whatever the deck's running. I think this is very good against Riptide, but it's like a low price card just because it's going to be... very situational. But I don't think we have many block 3 0 cost blue generics in the game. I think this is maybe one of the first. So in and of itself, it'll probably see play because it's better than some other decks. Some decks you don't have good blues. This just fits and it goes in. And Pre-Emptive, the last one for Majestics. This is like a weaker Plunder Run. Not as strong because you don't get the tempo draw to keep going. But I think it's very strong if you do have this in Arsenal. So the way the game usually works on an aggro deck, let's say Fi uses their Arsenal, plays out 4 cards plus Arsenal, so 5 card hand. But usually by the end of that, they don't have a card to put in Arsenal. This is, you play a 5 card hand with +3 from this. Like for instance, this is possibly a no-brainer on like... some Dromai decks, potentially Emperor, right? Because this is 0 red with Go Again. But having the Ponder token means you're guaranteed an Arsenal at the end of the turn. Will suck in decks that run a lot of blues, but like Redline decks would see that this is just crazy good in a Redline deck because it just works and it replaces itself at the end of the turn. So you have 2 turns in a row with 5 card hands is what I'm trying to hint at, which most decks don't get to do. They get to do a 5 and then a 4, or a 5 and then a 3 to Arsenal the 4th to then have a 5. That's usually how the game goes. Equipment. People were complaining. Sorry, legendaries. There's how many legendaries in the set? I gotta look at my sheet. 6. Is that right? It's 5. Redback Shroud seems like it's built for Arachne, and maybe why Arachne didn't get brand new cards. So Arachne got all the daggers and stealth cards, and I think the daggers are more relevant for the Arachne playstyle. Also, all the generic 2 for 6s are very good in Arachne, because Arachne can play them quite easily. But this is nuts. This is better than Tunic on Arachne. I don't think Arachne works without Tunic, so you tend to build around your turns around Tunic counter. This allows you to pretty much, well, not play Tunic, block all the time, which is better than Tunic, and this card itself should always pay for itself. So what I'm trying to say is it gives you a resource into your attack reaction. Let's just talk about Razor Reflex or any other one-cost assassin ones. You use this, pay for the reaction, which usually means your attack hits, and because Arachne is running contracts, you generally make 2 silvers, so you just bring this back next turn. So I think it's absolutely busted, actually. This is also in full art. This is probably mid to high. Pricing-wise, it's crazy good, but only in Arachne. I don't think Azuri plays it, because I don't think Azuri can make silvers as efficiently as Arachne does. But this is just probably a staple now for Arachne. Where the price ends up is completely based on how strong Arachne ends up being after this set. But I think the daggers alone on Arachne are very good, because they can pull out whatever weapons they need for the matchup and have an advantage. But again, I haven't tested. I don't know how strong it'll be. But the price of that of Redback Shroud will be completely dependent on how good Arachne is in the meta in CC. Song of Treasure also comes in full art, which is sick. It's the first pirate card in the game. I think this is really, really good. It's also it sort of nullifies Command and Conquer into Ranger to a point, if the card is face down, obviously. So it just lets you remove that card. But remember, it gains 1 resource, which I think what Rangers will do is end up activating their bow at instant speed to load their arsenal again. So you come in with Command and Conquer, they activate this, gain a resource, and then spend the resource to load an arrow. Or spend the resource to use for a defense reaction that might cost 1. I don't know if there's a defense reaction that costs 1, actually, but, well, Oasis does. But sorry about the beeping. That's my washing machine finishing. I think this is good. It has AB1, so it's automatically going to go in Ranger decks for AB. Like, AB Blade Break is already good. I don't know how strong this will be till we see. So yeah, I think this is good. But because it's Ranger only, and depending how much play it sees, it'll be mid price. I don't think it'll be stronger than that unless the decks it's in are very, very high in the meta. Quiver of Abyssal Depths is... Actually, I did this wrong, didn't I? This, I made... I talked about Rustling Leaves as if it was Abyssal Depths. This is going to be low priced because everyone will want the Legendary one. I think this is just the cheaper option that you run. But the Abyssal Depths is like a must-have. I think it's just crazy not to have it. But because it's Ranger only, it'll only ever be mid-priced, I think. Again, unless we see a whole bunch of Rangers in high in the meta. It's a Remembrance on Demand. I said this about Rustling Leaves. I was wrong. Remembrance on Demand is, from the start of the game, is just silly. And good anti-fatigue, which I said before. I don't think Flick Knives is very good. Although, we'll find out if the meta or there's a archetype of assassin or ninja that allows this to be very, very usable. The fact that it's the first dual-class legendary might give it some... And the art is also absolutely wicked. But I don't think this is necessarily better than Shuko on ninja. Because their weapons just like, why would you... I think the only reason you would do this is retroactively to get a Mask of Momentum trigger on Ninja, so that could be very good in Blitz. I just don't know if this will get played a lot in CC. But either or, I think this will sell at mid-price anyway, just because it's a very sick ninja legendary. Don't expect a super high value. The legendary, I think, with the most potential to be very expensive is Vambrace of Determination. A few reasons. It's the first generic arms equipment, which tells us where LSS are going with the legendary equipment design. So helmets have so far been very defensive. Chest pieces have been resource-based, most of them. And now we have gloves, which are like +1 damage, which a lot of classes have a +1 damage. But this is specifically pay 1 attack reaction that stops damage prevention. So in a simple sense, Crown of Seeds, this nullifies Crown of Seeds. They pay 1 on Oldhim to sink a card. You pay 1 to nullify that damage effect, the damage prevention effect. So I do believe if you want to beat Oldhim on most decks, you're just going to put this in by default because you'll get a lot of value out of it. Maybe not red line decks like Fi, where they may not have that extra resource to play with. Where this also could have been absolutely busted is when Prism had Luminaris in CC, and she could have pitched a yellow to this and turned on all her auras while her soul is empty. So the common play on Prism was pitch a yellow into her hero ability, pay 2, create a Spectral Shield, banish a card from soul, and that turned on all the weapons gain go again, or all the auras gain go again. This would have let her do that without that, so this would have been a must-have in Prism. But I'm pretty sure this is going in my Dory deck to help me beat Oldhim, because it also helps me with Oasis Respite. It also helps me with Quell on Dromai, I believe. I'm not sure about Quell, actually, but I think... Yeah, no, Quell is a damage prevention. But either way, I think this is just better into Oldhim and better into any deck you're expecting to play Oasis. This may not start as a very expensive legendary. We don't know if it comes in full art or not, but this is the first generic legendary equipment I think every deck will end up having in their sideboard at some point or another, depending on the meta. So this is my pick for like the highest potential in price for the legendary. But that's the video. Been talking for a while. I didn't necessarily go through every single card in as much detail as I might want to, but again, I think the picks, I think Down and Dirty is actually probably going to be the best Majestic in the set, and I think Vambrace of Determination is the best legendary. I can be wrong. They're just my picks anyway. Aside from all the hype that we'll get early, depending on what players want to build and try out, which happened with Arachne. See, that's really died off now, and we'll see. It'll probably happen with Azuri Riptide as well, and then it might die off. But those two cards seem absolutely crazy good long-term in the game. But yeah, that's me. Again, shout out to Stackswell. Hopefully he makes a video like this and talks about what he thinks are the picks for what the market's going to look like for Outsiders cards. But subscribe if you want more content. Like the video if you can, and I'll see you guys soon.